with Revolution Magazine. I have the absolute pleasure to be with Olivia Wilde today. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your partnership or relation to Bulgari?
Yes, I'm a friend of the Bulgari brand. I've been for years. I've partnered with them on philanthropic collaborations. I've worn their jewelry for years, and I have a lot of respect for the brand, and it was really fun that they asked me to come and hang out here, because this is an event I've never been to, and I've been long fascinated with watchmaking, and so it's fun to come to the home and the hub of watch technology.
Oh, excellent. So do you wear a watch on a regular basis? Are you a watch person?
Yeah, I think, watches, it's an interesting thing because it now almost feels old-fashioned in the sense that like people are so connected to phones, and the way we connect to time is often now through iPhones. And yet what a watch does is it prevents you from then getting distracted when you look at the time by what happens next. Because you look at your phone and then you're connected to the news, a news break, or your own schedule, or some kind of media that distracts you. Whereas a watch just forces you to be in the moment. It forces you to appreciate the seconds you have to be where you are. So there's something to me that's kind of romantic and important about the relationship to watches and how it allows you to value time.
No, that's so true.
Yeah, it's like that is the most luxurious thing, time. It's the one thing we can't buy.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you like particularly about Bulgari? Are there any particular pieces that you have
the history of Bulgari is amazing. And specifically this Serpenti collection. I mean, it's inspired by Cleopatra. And like, what greater woman is there for us to be inspired by in terms of style and attitude and power? And I love the kind of evolution of that collection over the years. There's a piece in the other room from the 1950s that is the most extraordinary Serpenti watch with the classic wraparound band, and then the watch face is inside the snake's mouth. And I was imagining, like Elizabeth Taylor kind of like opening her snake's mouth to look at the watch face. It's just amazing. And now they've updated that. They continue to evolve. I think it's remarkable. They're the only company that's making watches specifically for women. A lot of the other brands make a men's watch and then they sort of adapt it for women. So I think there's something significant about the fact that Bulgari makes watches for women with them in mind from the beginning of the design process.
That's perfect, thank you. You mentioned Cleopatra and Elizabeth Taylor. Are there any other women that have really inspired you, either famous or family?
Yeah, I mean, my mother is someone who has always inspired me. My mom's been a journalist for 35 years, and she ran for Congress in the States last year, and she's an ever-evolving, curious person, which I think is something I aspire to be, to never stop learning and changing. She's also the most chic and elegant woman I know. And it's funny because I connect watches to my mom. She always had the most kind of like delicate watch on her beautiful wrist, and as a kid you imagine kind of details of your parents, there's like kind of emotional connection to different parts of them, and I always think of my mom's wrist. But I also have so many kind of heroines in my life that aren't in my family, and I continue to aspire to, now I'm directing films, and I think about a lot of female directors who kind of blaze the path. People like Nora Ephron, Penny Marshall. There's been, Patty Jenkins now, obviously directing Wonder Woman and more. There's so many women who have fought so hard so that I can now direct movies. So I think about them a lot. And then of course in terms of like the greater conversation about powerful women, I think Michelle Obama is the most admirable woman of our time, and I think it is, it's kind of extraordinary. If you read her, I don't know if you read her book, her memoir, but it's really all about the kind of multifaceted, multidimensionality of women, and how you can maintain your grace and elegance and power without sacrificing your intelligence and hardworking nature. So.
Oh, that's great. You've also just directed your first film,
yes,
Booksmart, which also has this female.
Yes, completely.
Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, Booksmart is about female friendship, and it's about growing up as women who are very connected to each other, who support each other and love each other completely, and help each other evolve. And that sometimes there is friction there. It's difficult when someone knows you so well to separate from them eventually, because you have to in order to evolve. But also when you've opened yourself up to someone, that's such an intimate, vulnerable relationship. And it's kind of a conversation about that, as well as a conversation about judgment and how we judge others in order to make ourselves feel safe, and how we really shouldn't do that, and it blocks us off from understanding people and understanding ourselves.
So when does it come out? I'm dying to see.
Comes out May 24th.
Oh, so very soon.
Very soon. I'm really, really excited. And I think it's only like a day later in the UK and Europe. It's like very now, release dates are so close together, which is great. I remember when I was a kid and it was like, movies were released in Europe months after, and my dad's Irish, and we'd spend every summer in Ireland, and I'd be waiting for the American movies to be released. But Booksmart should come out, right around May 24th.
Oh, excellent. You're very active. You have a lot of different social causes that you support.
Yeah.
What's closest to your heart right now?
Well, actually, Save the Children is an organization that I'm really passionate about, particularly in our worldwide refugee crisis, and certainly what's happening in the United States in terms of our crisis of, our lack of empathy for migrants, and unfortunately, our administration and their attitude towards that is supplemented by great organizations like Save the Children, who are actually bringing aid and helping refugees of all kinds find homes and safety in America. But I've traveled to refugee camps in Jordan, in Africa, I've spent time in Haiti, really, understanding the kind of universality of the human experience. But Save the Children is a really extraordinary organization, and actually they work with Bulgari, so that's another way in which I'm connected. But that's one that now, because of what we're going through with the migrant crisis around the world, and people, because of climate change, because of war, people are searching for homes and acceptance, and I think that there's a mindset that needs to shift in terms of how we block ourselves off from each other. Obviously in the UK it's the conversation around Brexit, but we're all going through it in all our different respective countries. And I'm focusing as much as I can on helping people reconnect to each other just as human beings.
Okay, well, that's great. One last question. What advice would you give to a young girl who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Well, particularly with directing, I would advise every young woman to tell her story and to not be intimidated by the kind of massive undertaking of directing. I think that there's this myth that in order to be a director, you have to know how to do everything yourself. And actually, it's collaboration in its purest form. It's delegating. It's learning to give other people the opportunity to do their best work around you, to support a story you want to tell. And now with technology, it's so much easier just to go out and do it. So I would tell young women, if you have a story to tell, you really, really should just tell it. Don't let anyone stop you, and reach around you for help.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. Such a nice conversation. Easy.